Just ahead on CTV News, President Trump gave his State of the Union address last night. We break down everything you need to know. Plus, from rallies to rebuttals, Democrats take a stand against the president.
The president did what he always does. He lied, he scapegoated, and he distracted.
And a familiar face joins the congressional race for Steny Hoyer's seat. These stories and more on CTV News, starting now.
Good evening, it's February 25th. Welcome to CTV News. I'm Brandon Williams.
And I'm Alexis Davila. Thank you for joining us. Now, in a record-long State of the Union speech, President Donald Trump defends his economic policies and immigration enforcement, despite some pushback from Democrats. Trump touted stock market gains, low gas prices, and low mortgage rates. The president also expressed his disappointment in the recent Supreme Court ruling striking down tariff revenues. Trump honored military heroes while pushing his rationale for using forces in a strike against Iran. But the most dramatic moment came when Trump called out Democrats for not supporting his immigration strategy.
Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials.
Did not mention the 2 deaths in Minneapolis at the hands of federal agents. And joining us now to help us break down last night's address is our political contributor, John Ronquillo.
Mr. Ronquillo, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you both for having me. Good to be here.
Yeah, so starting right off the top, John, what was your overall takeaway from the president's address last night?
You know, there are a few takeaways, and in a way, I'm almost wondering why you're having me on today, because I think Governor Spanberger pretty much summed it up very well. The president told us a lot without saying a lot of what I think a lot of Americans wanted to hear. As a lame duck president going into his final term, there are a lot of concerns that I think he could have seized upon in terms of giving especially the people who didn't vote for him some comfort. But that's never really been his MO. That's not really the group that he speaks to. He is very fond of speaking to his base, his supporters, and those flames were certainly fanned last night as decorum continues to be interesting during these State of the Union addresses.
You talk about decorum. I want to point out something that happened just right before the Union address. Nearly half of the House and Senate Democrats, along with 5 Supreme Court justices, boycotted this speech. So what's your thoughts on this action, and what does that really say about the political norms now?
Yeah, and Alexis, that's not an accident. I think the tensions that have been boiling over between the president and the Supreme Court in light of the hearings on tariffs in particular are escalating tensions. And the New York Times, for example, has given quite a bit of a hot take in terms of the relationship between Chief Justice John Roberts and the president as well. We clearly saw the divisions that exist in the chamber, a chamber that was united between the House and the Senate last night, as well as various guests in the gallery. And, you know, there are a lot of issues that weren't spoken to, but I think those absences that you mentioned certainly reflect the fact that those tensions aren't being assuaged between the 2 different parties or the factions that may take opposing views.
John, he also mentioned last night about the economy and how it is roaring and that America is rich again and that the nation is back again. But do you think his speech is helping to reassure Americans who are feeling anxious in their pockets or questioning affordability right now?
And that question really speaks to the heart of what I think people wanted to hear. Right. He did go out of his way to mention gas prices. He mentioned the price of eggs. And I think that those indicators are easy indicators for your everyday consumer in terms of the way we feel it on our pocketbook. Right. And so to reflect those things and to say that those prices are going down is one thing, but it doesn't give the full spectrum of where we are as a country economically. He's talking about rates for mortgages as well. But a question I have is what are the rates for people actually buying homes or being able to buy their first homes? Right. And so I think given the length of the speech, he could have added much more context in terms of where we are economically. And I didn't feel that he did that as much as he could have. He didn't talk too much more about Venezuela other than taking their oil, for example, getting raucous applause from his side of the room. But I think in terms of really, if he really wants to drill, he should drill down to the root causes of the economic hardship that we're facing in this country right now. And I didn't really get a sense of that last night.
And we know that Trump also talks about the tariff revenue, saying that that's what boosts the economy. But in his speech last night, he talked about he was disappointed with the Supreme Court ruling on this and said that he's going to still do this without the help of Congress. What's your thoughts on that statement? And what's it mean for the economy, since he is saying that that's key for us?
Yeah, I think that that's a keen observation as well, too, in terms of what the president's regard for the rule of law is, what his regard for the Constitution is. And that is, in my estimation, very little regard. Where he can circumvent the Constitution, where he can circumvent other branches of government, he will do whatever he can to ensure that he is flexing the power that he has to do that. One of the things that I certainly feel that Donald Trump has done in his first term, and as he's finished this first year of his second term, is that if he says something, it's often hard to know whether or not you should believe him. But I feel in more cases than not, you should believe him. If he tells you that he's going to do something, he's certainly going to try it, especially as it makes him look more powerful and as it makes him look more of a leader, especially to his base and the people who support him.
Last one for you, John. The midterms are coming up in November. How do you think that this speech last night is shaping the political landscape for that?
I think it's reflective of a lot of big sentiments that we have in the country right now. I think that we have seen, in particular, some so-called off-year elections, including that of Governor Spanberger in Virginia, Governor Mikey Sherrill in New Jersey, both Democrats who had previously served in Congress. I think a lot of people are hinging on data that we have used, especially since post-World War II, that when we have these midterm elections, the party that is not in power or in the presidency typically does pick up some seats. And so I think there's a lot of aspirational goals that we'll see some tilting in these chambers of Congress, and that maybe they may become under control of the Democrats next time around.
John, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about this with us, sir. We will see you later down the road.
Thank you both.
Meantime, a sharp response from Virginia's new governor accusing President Trump of driving up costs and chaos just weeks into her term. Abigail Spanberger delivered the Democratic rebuttal to the president's State of the Union from Colonial Williamsburg. The 46-year-old governor said while the president touted economic strength, families are feeling squeezed by higher housing, healthcare, and energy costs. She also pointed to what she called grassroots resistance across the country, from student walkouts to families also protecting immigrant neighbors.
See it in the determination of students organizing school walkouts all across the country, whose voices are becoming so powerful that the governor of Texas seeks to silence them. We see it in the bravery of Americans in Minnesota standing up for their communities, from peacefully protesting in sub-zero temperatures to carpooling children to school, so that their immigrant parents are not ripped away from them in the parking lot. As a mother of 3 school-aged daughters, I am inspired by their bravery, but I am sickened that it is necessary.
The White House fired back, calling her remarks radical and defending the president's record on jobs and border security. We took to the streets today for reaction about President Trump's 2-hour State of the Union address last night, and county residents didn't mince words about the president and his administration.
None of it was pertaining to affordability, so to speak, It wasn't interesting to me because we're still looking at high costs of everything, not necessarily just gas and electricity, but food also. None of that was addressed.
It's sad that more lawmakers aren't standing up and saying the same thing. Every black lawmaker, every lawmaker of color, every woman should have been holding up a sign. Let these white men know, not anymore. Because when one of us is taken down, it makes it easier for everybody to be taken down.
Donald Trump, he just says whatever he thinks is useful to say at the time. He just lies continually, so there's no point.
You're watching CTV News. I'm Brandon Williams.
And I'm Alexa Davila. Still to come, One lawmaker is fighting for a vulnerable group of students to be recognized in state schools.
We will give you all the details on the new bill introduced after the break. Stay with us.
Everyone likes rooting for their favorite team with some friends. But if you plan on drinking, don't drive. Designate a sober driver or schedule a rideshare for a safe ride home. Be the make-a-plan driver. Be the driver who saves lives.
I wish people knew that when you live in a small town like mine, it's much harder to find friends with common interests, especially ones my age. I often feel really alone.
Same here. Seems like every time we finally settle somewhere, I have to pack up and move again. By the time I make a friend, a real friend, I have to say goodbye to them.
I totally get it. I live in a big city, but it can feel just as lonely. It's tough, but it gets easier.
Honestly, I totally get what you're going through. It's nice to know that you feel the same.
You enjoyed my story. I really enjoyed your story as well.
Welcome back. Prince George's County Police are currently investigating an early morning shooting in Fort Washington today. It happened here at the 9500 block of Livingstone Road around 2:30 a.m. Officers found 31-year-old Tyrone Gant suffering from a gunshot wound. He was later pronounced dead on the scene. Anyone with any information on this case is asked to call the homicide unit at 301-516-2512.
Two Pennsylvania men now face charges for an illegal car rally right here in the county that happened over the weekend. Take a look at your screen right now. You're seeing 23-year-old Blake Miller and 22-year-old Gus Roth. Officers caught them swapping out their license plates to avoid detection. When officers pulled them over, Miller attempted to flee but crashed into multiple vehicles. A gun and ammunition was also found inside the vehicle. County Police Chief George Nader shared in a statement, in quotes, "Do not come into Prince George's County or any of our neighboring jurisdictions and engage in this dangerous and illegal behavior."
And a county council member is working to help seniors pay their electric bills. District 8 council member Edward Burrows recently launched Phase 2 of the District 8 Senior Support Fund. Initially launched last year, the fund has helped nearly 2,000 seniors with things such as tax relief, utility assistance, and mortgage support. Phase 2 is directly geared towards seniors who need help paying their Pepco bills.
This is a direct and measurable impact, and we're doing everything that we can to ease the burden on our senior citizens who we know are on fixed incomes. Phase 2, because of the overwhelming outcry from District 8 residents, will focus on utility bills, particularly Pepco.
This is a first-come, first-served basis program. While the funds last, those who qualify and apply before March 29th should receive at least $500 towards their households.
Delegate Denise Roberts introduces a bill today aimed at helping families with autism. House Bill 901 would require schools to recognize autism diagnoses from external medical professionals, so those students could get the support they need even sooner. Roberts says some schools do not recognize the diagnosis and recommendations from the doctors. As a result, the students do not always get the services they need. Tangela Terrain Meyer's grandson has autism and is a huge supporter of the bill.
It took us nearly 2 years of advocacy in order to get his diagnosis included in his IEP. That 2-year gap is a delay for recognition of the services he needed in order to support him. And there was no rationalization or reason behind it. Meanwhile, he's an 8th grader now, so we've lost the first 2 years of middle school to get him set up for success.
It's not even fair to the teachers, because you have some cases in which students have autism some of it may be behavioral related, and the teacher has to still teach other students. So this right here will help the classroom, it will help the school system.
Now, this bill would also require the schools to do a school-based evaluation within 30 days of the child receiving the diagnosis.
Governor Wes Moore is continuing to push Senate Bill 386, also known as the Lower Bills and Power Act of 2026. The bill is aimed at lowering energy costs for Marylanders by giving them a one-time $40 rebate. Yesterday, the governor wasn't able to attend a committee hearing, but other people testified arguing the bill would be good for customers. Some on the committee did have some questions as to how effective the $40 rebate would be for everyone.
We're also holding utility companies accountable in this bill by requiring them to join PJM without charging ratepayers for the voluntary participation incentives. This action removes an unnecessary expense and will save Maryland families tens of millions of dollars annually.
So this is going to be an average of $40 a year for ratepayers, which is, quite frankly, nowhere near enough to help my constituents that are reaching out all the time about these high energy bills.
Now, according to state data, energy costs in Maryland have gone up 44% since 2020.
State House lawmakers weigh out a bill that aims to ban police from wearing masks. A similar bill was already passed in the Maryland Senate, but now the House bill may make changes to match the Senate bill. This means, if passed, all law enforcement officers will not be allowed to wear face coverings while on duty. However, the exception will be for inclement weather or protecting an officer's health or safety. If an officer violates the ban, it will be a civil fine of $1,500. The ban would take effect in October if approved.
Meanwhile, the mid-decade redistricting fight in Maryland appears to be over after Senate leaders declined to move forward with a House-passed map. The Maryland House approved a plan to redraw the state's 8 congressional districts, but Maryland Senate President Bill Ferguson has refused to bring the bill to a vote. He says a mid-cycle redraw could face legal challenges. Governor Wes Moore and other Democrats have argued new lines are needed to counter redistricting in other states. For now, the current congressional map is expected to remain in place.
Senator Joanne Benson's absence from the Senate floor is raising eyebrows. We are nearing now the midpoint of the 90-day legislative session, but Benson missed more than 40 days so far. It's unclear if she will return, as her status right now is considered day-to-day. But her decision to not file for re-election means her 15 years as Maryland's first female state senator for District 24 will wrap up after this term in January of next year. And still to come on CTV News, the race for Steny Hoyer's seat is heating up.
That's right, Alexis. A well-known county figure is stepping back into politics. Plus,
a candidate looking to grab a congressional seat gets an endorsement today. I'm Katara Jones. I'll have all those details coming up on CTV News.
Might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. You may not even know you have it, but you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand. With early diagnosis, you can change the outcome and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
don't call it a comeback. Former Prince George's County Executive Rashawn Baker has filed for Congress. Baker filed yesterday to add his name in the long list of candidates vying for Steny Hoyer's seat, which 30 people are trying to earn, with 24 of them being Democrats, 6 of them Republican. I talked with Rashawn Baker, and he says he wants to help Marylanders and speak truth to power against the Trump administration.
People are hurting in the 5th Congressional District in the state of Maryland. And those are the things that made me think about going back into running again. Because given the things that I've dealt with as county executive, as a legislator, and dealing with Donald Trump during the government shutdown, we need somebody that can go to Capitol Hill right now and take the fight, not only to Donald Trump, but also deliver for the people of Maryland. And that's something that I want to do.
Baker also shared he has plans to help the state with economic growth. A county council member who has her eyes set on Congress gets some much needed support this morning.
Yes, CTV's Katara Jones is standing by in Oxon Hill with more.
As the race to fill Maryland's 5th congressional seat ramps up, Walla Begay gets an endorsement from some business and faith leaders here in Prince George's.
She's the best candidate. We looked at her credentials.
The Maryland Business Clergy Partnership announced today that it's putting its full support behind Walla Begay's bid for Congress. The nonprofit group represents hundreds of businesses and churches across the state.
We went through a series of what has she done, positive for business people. We looked at a positive path in terms of what she's done for churches, ministers.
Begay is looking to nab Steny Hoyer's seat, who's set to retire at the end of his term. She'll face several notable challengers, including Delegate Nicole Williams and Delegate Adrian Bahaffel, who's being backed by Hoyer.
We have overwhelming support from the community. A lot of people have reached out to support, so we're really trying to manage all of the interests, especially now with people knowing all the people in the race. They've said, okay, we want to help you win.
Maryland's Democratic primary is set for June 23rd. Katara Jones, CTV News.
All right, thank you, Katara. Continue to follow CTV News as we continue to cover this congressional race.
And today, leaders in Prince George's County came together to talk about development and how to streamline the process. The Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission and the Prince George's County Planning Department hosted a development community meeting at their Largo headquarters. The workshop brought together county leaders, developers, land use attorneys, and residents to hear zoning and permitting concerns. Identify some of the ways to cut red tape, improve efficiency, and support smart transit-oriented growth.
It's important because over the past few years, we have not really heard from the community on this process issues. And so we want to be able to have that opportunity to hear back from them and then take that information back to the leadership, whether it be the county executive, the county council, the planning board, whomever else, to see what needs to be done legislatively, what things that we can do on a lower level things, so what I call low-hanging fruit, get those things knocked out and out of the way, and also look at our stakeholders and say, okay, let's bring you to the table and make those changes.
During this event, attendees were able to write out their concerns and suggestions to improve the development process in the county. The county leaders say that the responses will be compiled and could help shape future policies.
Ready to fall head over paws for a new best friend? Say hello to our pet of the week, Bedford.
This 3-year-old white and gray domestic shorthair has been at the shelter since the 2nd of February, and he's ready to turn your house into a home.
This handsome guy is a bit reserved at first. Loud or unfamiliar sounds can make him hit the pausey button, but once he feels safe, that's when the magic starts.
Sweet boy, he loves to talk. Is a fan of wand toys and also loves to give kisses. With his personality, I think any type of home would benefit him, just because he does have such a very sweet personality. I think he can adapt to many homes.
And if you're ready to give Bedford a quiet space to bloom, he and all his shelter friends are ready to claw their way into your heart.
I know he's clawed into mine already.
Oh boy.
But call Animal Services at 301-780-7200. And remember, the best companionship is built one gentle purr at a time. Don't go away just yet. It's now time for our Wednesday sports page.
And I hear my Bowie State Bulldogs were in action last night. Simon, what did they do?
Stay tuned for your Wednesday sports page, everyone, as I have some highlights for you all from the Bowie State men's basketball team CIAA tournament matchup against Livingstone College. Be right back.
My opponent is completely disregarding almost half of my arguments which I responded to.
Communities must step up.
Laws alone cannot stop a bully.
Well, I completely disagree. Point of inquiry, do you guys even realize that the #1 killer of children and teens are gun injuries?
You're probably starting to realize now, this is not a debate.
There is no adult in this earth that wants children to die.
I worry for my kids.
All right, everyone, it's time for your Wednesday sports page. Now, for our first story, we take a trip to Baltimore as the Bowie State men's basketball squad took on Livingstone College in the first round of the CIAA tournament. The first quarter started off with Livingstone building a lead, but the Bulldogs weren't far behind, only trailing by single digits. And eventually, Bowie was able to take the lead as these made triples from Guy Fauntleroy put the Bulldogs ahead 13-9. The Bulldogs' lead kept getting bigger and bigger as his long-range jumper from KJ West got his team's lead to double digits. As the quarter went on, some good defense and more shot-making from Bowie kept the Blue Bears at bay, and they went into halftime with a 44-32 lead over Livingstone. In the second half, the Bulldogs continued to shoot well, making over 50% of their shots and outscoring Livingstone 56-45 in the period. And because of this, Bowie was able to take down the Blue Bears in the end, 100-77, and advance to the next round of the tournament. Here's head coach Darrell Brooks and forward Jaden McGee, who was the game's MVP, after the game on the team's win.
The biggest thing for us, and we tried to emphasize that all day, was being able to get the first miss. We defended pretty well, and they missed their first shot. Early in the game, we were able to get that first miss, get out in transition. We felt like that was a weak point for them. We had some moments where we allowed second shots, and then in the second half, we did a much better job of just getting the first miss, getting out and run, and we shared the ball pretty well.
My mindset was just to kill. Like, I'm a transfer, and when I came in, they took me in like right under their wing. So I knew they had high expectations for me, and we haven't had a complete game like this all season. I feel like I haven't had a complete game like this all season, so I had to show the coaches why they had to bring me in here and why I wanted to be here.
Congratulations to my Bulldogs on the great win. The men's team will return to action tonight against the #1 seed in Fayetteville State at 8:50. Meantime, the women's basketball team took the court at 4:30 for their first game of the tournament in their matchup against Livingstone College. The Lady Bulldogs are balling right now, y'all, having won 8 straight games going into their matchup versus the Lady Blue Bears. And tune into CTV Sports tomorrow because I have some highlights waiting for you. In other news, the NFL has announced that the Washington Commanders will be playing in the 2026 London Games. This will be the third international game that Burgundy and Gold has played, the first 2 being in London in 2016 and the second one in Madrid this past season. The Commanders' opponent for the matchup will be announced this spring. And that is your Wednesday sports page. Simon Buggs, CTV Sports. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you,
BSU.
Simon. We love it. We love it. Well, let's get a check of our 3-day forecast and get ready for a little weather whiplash. Tonight, partly cloudy and chilly with a low around 37.
You don't say. Thursday, keep the umbrella handy. Rain likely after 1 p.m. with a high near 45 and a low of 32. But here comes the payoff. Friday turns sunny with a high of near 48, and Saturday, get ready for this, more sunshine and a spring tease climbing to 59 degrees. And now for our community calendar, what's up with the weather? Find out what's happening above and below. Weather meteorology takes you inside the science of storms, the water cycle, and how human behavior impacts climate. Explore maps, symbols, tools, and even a little math to measure what's happening in the sky. It's happening tomorrow, February 26th, from 10 to 11:30 a.m. at Bladensburg Waterfront Park. For details, call 301-709-0371. And for those of you who aren't used to seeing Alexis, we would like to welcome her to CTV. Alexis, welcome. How did your journalism journey bring you here?
Oh, we've traveled to many states. I was born in New York, so you'll hear the accent outside of all of this. But went to Florida, I'm a proud Gator, and then South Dakota, Virginia, then Baltimore. So I've been a little bit everywhere. I feel like I've touched every coastline.
I feel like you were definitely experienced here, and we are definitely happy to have you. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Our time is up, and we certainly thank you for yours.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again tomorrow night.